Andrew Hayden, good day. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Assemble. I'm Matt. Good to see you. Good to have you on the show. Let's talk a little bit of the WWE draft, shall we? Let's do this thing together. That was something. And we still have, I saw in the chat too, I had the same question of, where did Eva Marie go? Where did others land? It was an interesting night. Also, Gable Steveson. The hell was that? Anyways, what we're going to do for the stream today, this morning, this afternoon, evening, wherever you guys are, we are actually going to be going through some of the results, the recent results from Raw, obviously, last night. I'm not going to do a Raw recap. I'm more interested in the draft and in getting all of your thoughts, what you thought of the draft overall. Did it hit for you? Was it a hit or miss? Lola, hence the thumbnail. You know what I'm talking about, Andrew. Let's go. All right. Give me 1 second here. I am actually going through WWE.com, and we are going to take a look at the overall draft results. Raw is stacked, I imagine. Hey, you guys can see that. Hey! Transitions are fun today. Da 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 da. Didn't know Gable Steveson? No. I know. I'm just Mr. Meme. I know. I'm just the Olympic guy, but I'm like, okay. Like, that's the draft, like, to main roster, too. That's all. It's cool. You know what? Change. Change is good. Change is mighty. It's all good for everybody. So, let's take a look here. We went through, obviously, we know about SmackDown, how SmackDown is shaping up here. Looks pretty good. The biggest thing being from SmackDown, obviously Charlotte. I'd say almost all the horsewomen, but we didn't get that. Sasha, Charlotte, Roman Reigns, and confirmed that the bloodline is all staying together on SmackDown. Now, let's take a look though at Monday Night Raw. So, Raw's got round one, Raw Women's Champion. So, Becky Lynch did kick off Monday Night Raw, which I found kind of odd, only in that the way they did it, they set up that whole segment at the beginning of Raw, only to then go into the draft piece, and where we had them announce officially that Becky was drafted. I found it clunky, to be honest, that they drafted her to Raw. But anyways, we know that we got Becky, we've got Seth on Raw, so you got the dynamic power couple there. I think Becky they swap them, but they still have the title, so they've got to solve that, which, I don't know. I worry that they're just going to do a simple, just hand the titles over to each other and do it that way. I really wish that they would do something that's a little bit, innovative, or try to do something that's fun by swapping the titles on the brands. The Usos, the tag team champions, are staying on SmackDown, which is good. Bobby Lashley on Raw and the Hurt Business on Raw, that had me disappointed. I don't know about you guys. I was kind of hoping that we would actually get Hurt Business over on SmackDown and get them to actually feud with Bloodline down the road. But at the same time, they're trying to, what I took from the draft overall is that, based on some of the picks too, SmackDown is a shorter show, and they got away from the 3 picks to 2 picks, which I did appreciate. But at the end of the day, it does feel like Raw is stacked, but they've had stacked years in the past too. My concern is just how they utilize the talent. There were some surprises and some, even the free agent stuff. I'm like, really? So Lashley stays on Raw. Sasha Banks is drafted, stays on SmackDown, which is fine because then we can get Sasha versus maybe Charlotte down the road if they want to go down that path. And if they do a triple threat match, just Stacey Green, yeah. If they do a triple threat match, then that might work. Just give me 1 second, guys. Just answering some questions too on the side. 1 second. So, the round 2, we got Seth Rollins going to Raw. That was not a big surprise. That allows them to continue the feud with Edge over on Raw, which I guess they're going to keep going. I mean, the whole house break-in thing on SmackDown, I thought the segment was really good. So I'd still like to see Rollins do something over there. And they can change things up where you can... I think with Rollins, especially going over to Raw, it's a good move leading into the fall, into the Rumble, potentially even for Mania as an opponent against Big E if they keep the title on Big E for that long. But Seth has done amazing work. I'd love to see what they'll do with him going forward and giving him some big named opponents that he can try and take down. I think that there's probably still some unfinished business with Lashley that they could try and revisit that once he's done with Goldberg. That's still going. So Seth on Raw, I like it. I think you kind of have your giant piece of the puzzle over on SmackDown with Roman Reigns. And I think moving Seth is a smart move because I was worried that, well, I would be excited to be able to get Seth versus Roman, but it's not going to work right now the way they're both built. And I think Seth's work is phenomenal in his own right. So I like that he's going over to Raw. He can be a centerpiece focus on Raw. And immediately, if they wanted to, he could feud going past the Survivor Series and then getting into the fall and getting into the Royal Rumble. I could definitely see Seth going after that title, playing a giant role over on Monday Night Raw and the title scene, which would be really great for me. I love it. I'd love to see him on like the one side as a champion at some point. And you got Roman doing his thing over on SmackDown. Intercontinental Champion King Nakamura and Rick Boogs staying over on SmackDown. That's not a huge surprise as we got United States Champion Damian Priest staying over on Raw. I kind of wish that Priest was going to SmackDown. SmackDown feels like a younger brand in the way that the drafts kind of worked out. It's fairly balanced, and overall I do think that the draft was pretty balanced as compared to previous years when they just gave it away. AJ, Sheamus is moving over to SmackDown, which that's good. Sheamus is good to be able to feud with other stars. He's a really good hand. So I'm in it. I'm into it. And then you got AJ Styles and Amos staying on Raw, which I thought they would move AJ over to SmackDown, but the way they've got stars moving over to Raw, like Finn Balor as well as Seth, you could turn around after they're done. AJ and Amos are done with RK Bro. Maybe they want to split that up at some point, maybe by the Rumble, and then you can get AJ off doing something else. AJ is great because you can turn him heel or face and go up against whoever you want. And I love to see, we had a little bit of AJ versus Seth before, but I'd love to see if AJ could go and have a really good hard, 3 to 4 month run against Seth. I think that'd be really cool. Omos is interesting because they're still building that up and they're still keeping them together. The other move that I was really happy about here, everybody, I don't know about you, but I was happy Shayna Baszler is moving over to SmackDown. I think Shayna is fantastic. I think she's going to be a huge piece and focal point going into the fall. As they've been trying to heat her up on Raw, the pieces seem to be in place, and she has lived on Raw this entire time. So I'm really happy to see her move over to SmackDown. I think she can get into some new feuds. I think that she could either take the title off Charlotte, or because she's going really hard heel, she'd probably have to find somebody else. Maybe Naomi would be pretty good if the two of them had a good feud. If you keep Naomi a face, that is. And Xia Li is going over to SmackDown, and this is awesome. Relatively kind of surprising pick, right? Of having her going over to SmackDown. And Kevin Owens, Kevin Steen is heading over to Monday Night Raw. Oh man, seeing Owens' face as he was doing the promo in the ring, getting cut off, and I was so worried that Owens was getting teased to be in the 24/7 division because that's borderline what they did right there, is that they shuffled him into that, and he's got Akira Tozawa in the ring. Oh man, I don't know. I was scared for him, and I just kind of felt like he was done. So I think Owens is not going to be a huge player on Raw, but change of scenery might help. I think he's just going to be in there to put some guys over. Maybe put Owens with Amos, or put him in a tag team, and then him and AJ and Amos can all do something. The round 4, we had Street Profits. Now, with Street Profits, I did think that they were going to split them up. I thought that you would actually split these guys up and you keep one of them on Raw and move the other one over to SmackDown. I just thought that it would be better off if they were separated, but you never know. Street Profits could actually end up splitting up, and then, or just keep them as a tag team, and then you can maybe break them off as single stars even while they are together. Round 5, or excuse me, I'm not done round 4. Round 4 continues, where we got Viking Raiders are heading over to SmackDown. Thank goodness, because I think they need a refresh. I think they need a restart. And it feels like, again, underutilized talent, newer talent seems to be going over to SmackDown, where they can build a lot more and build them almost as like foundation pieces and start to build them up or give them that fresh coat of paint. Viking Raiders need something if they're going to be a part of whatever the tag division is going to be. And it feels the tag division on SmackDown feels a lot more well-rounded based on the draft results than Raw. I'd like to see Viking Raiders turn heel. Showstopper, what's up? I agree. I think that you could do Viking Raiders versus Usos. I think that you could heat them up that way and keep them face. They're kind of tweeners, right? They just go in, they're big guys, and they just destroy. I think that you could turn the Viking Raiders heel, and then you could have them go up against some of the face tag teams that we got in the division. Finn Balor, he's going over to Raw. He's going to go and muss him up. So Balor we haven't seen since Extreme Rules, where the demon got destroyed and fell off the rope and the lights went down and his music hit. So now we're going to get Finn Balor on Raw. Curious to see what they do there. I'm trying to look at the roster right now for some of the draft picks. I mean, Balor as a face versus Seth would be awesome. I think that you could do Balor, if you turn Balor a little bit more heelish, because now he doesn't have Roman in his way. Maybe Balor and Damian Priest, US title, and build Priest up even more. Get some wins. Balor needs wins, though. I feel like he's floundering a little bit, but the way they have adjusted the rosters, you can get some good feuds, and Balor may be much more of a centerpiece on Raw, and they can do a little bit more with him. I just think that the feud that he had with Roman, it didn't really help him, because he was in the mix of it when Cena was coming in for SummerSlam. Cena's gone, and he was just kind of the second round guy to take up Roman in between. And I think that kind of hurt him, honestly. That's what I think. So having him Balor over on Raw, I think is really good. But personally, I like to see Balor go heel or just team up with AJ and just do a mini Bullet Club. Ricochet. Thank goodness for this one, eh? Ricochet is going over to SmackDown. Thank goodness, because he was literally on Main Event. And I'm glad that he is going to get off of that and he's actually going to be over on SmackDown, and maybe he can actually be utilized a little bit versus just, literally sitting in the main event scene of Main Event. Ricochet needs help. He needs to be rehabbed. I think that you could get Ricochet very quickly and easily up to the Intercontinental scene and going up against Nakamura. Because the IC title, the way it is, or the way it has been a little bit on the goofy side. And I mean, maybe you turn Ricochet heel. Maybe you give him a little bit more of an edge. But he needs something. He can't come into SmackDown. Like, this is a great opportunity for the writers to be able to take a character like Ricochet who can do anything in the ring, and that's not the problem, but he needs a character that he can sink his teeth into. I think you need to turn Ricochet heel or do something different with his character. Make him fresh and try and build him up a little bit more on the card. because he can be one of those cornerstone pieces of SmackDown. Fans love him. He's great to watch in the ring. I've seen him live. Like, he's tremendous. So it's not the in-ring piece. It's just his character isn't clicking enough, where he's all the way down into main event and he's just like good wrestler. I need to know, like, he needs to be more motivated or get him pissed off and try to do a little bit more. But Ricochet on SmackDown, I'm excited. Alan, good to see you, buddy. Showstopper says, Ricochet versus Hardy? That'd be cool. Cold Evans, Vince stopped caring about all super... Yeah. So he moves them down a little bit over to main event. Seems like now they're going to refocus some of the bigger guys on Raw. But at the same time, you got McIntyre and you got Roman on SmackDown. All right, let's go to the round 5. So round 5 of the draft pick, Karrion Kross. So we can see how well Karrion Kross has been doing since his debut, where he's been getting roll-up pins and weird interviews and segments. And now, yeah, we got Karrion Kross over on Raw still. Fine. I don't know what they're going to do with Kross. It's got the weird, scary face mask thing going on. I don't think his character's working. It's not clicking. He doesn't have enough going on right now. And I think Kross, like, I'm trying to look at the roster some more of, like, who you have. Kross and Kevin Owens. Maybe Owens is going to feud with Karrion Kross to try and get Kross over a little bit. Or you're going to feed Kross to Damian Priest in the U.S. title scene. And so that they can build Damian Priest even bigger. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like you're going to get Kross feeding to people. They're either going to try and get him over by putting him with somebody like a Kevin Owens. But other than that, I don't see Kross going up any higher. And it's too bad, because they could do more with him if they want him to be a nice big heater. But poor Kross. Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza moving over to SmackDown. This has me excited because as these guys have been kind of thrown together, I mean, they've been tagging together for a little while now. But go over to SmackDown. You're going to get pretty much a fresh audience overall. And it's a young, well put together tag team. I think that they will do very well for the tag division over on SmackDown. So I'm happy with that. Odd one that I was curious about when they would do things like stars that are free agents or injured or off TV right now. They kind of pick and choose who they wanted to go like on the get drafted. But Alexa Bliss drafted still to Raw, even though she's off TV. And based on all the reports and everything online, Bliss is going to be off for a couple of months now. I imagine maybe you're going to see Bliss show up at the Rumble. But whatever they do with Alexa Bliss going forward, I think she needs a fresh character. I think it needs to be reworked. And she's got to do something new, which I don't think is going to be a problem. I think Alexa Bliss does everything she can to take whatever they give her, whatever character, and she makes it work. So great, she's there. I guess it's better that she's staying on Raw. Get her away from Charlotte. I just wonder what it's going to all shape up to be once she actually makes a return. Cesaro, SmackDown. Cool. He's going to stick probably around the mid-card area. Maybe a thing with Shinsuke. Maybe a thing with Ricochet. But Cesaro will probably be in there to be able to assist some of the younger talent. Yeah, Alan, I saw that too, that Bliss is off reportedly having surgery right now. Round 6. Carmella is going over to Raw, which good. I think Carmella, she's only been on SmackDown this entire time, right? I don't remember Carmella ever being on Raw. So good for her. I think Carmella on Raw is fresh. She does great character work. I think she's done everything that she can do on SmackDown. There's nothing for her there. What's interesting is the picks and what was drafted or who was drafted after the fact. Because they just take everybody from SmackDown and put them on Raw. It's interesting. Ridge Holland, though. NXT Ridge Holland coming over to SmackDown. Who's excited and who's worried? Matt's worried. Ridge Holland had the little gimmick on NXT with the hat. I think Vince might look at that and say, I'm taking him and I'm plucking him and I'm putting I'm putting him right there in the lower mid card. I think I'm going to be a little bit worried when it comes to Ridge Holland. We'll wait and see. But who do you guys think that Ridge Holland is going to feud or team up with? Because I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I'm trying to think of like who Ridge Holland would team up with. I'm blanking right now. Who the heck could he actually work with? I thought I had somebody in mind. Who was the other one that could have actually been feuding with him? Thinking. Riddle's on Raw. Montez Ford's on Raw. And I was just thinking that with Montez Ford, you could keep them together with Angelo Dawkins and Street Profits, but I still think that they need to split up. Who the heck was I thinking? Cesaro and Sheamus? Yeah, but what are you going to do with Ridge Holland? Is he really going to go up against Cesaro and Sheamus? AJ, Akira Tozawa. Cedric's over there. Dakota Kai is in the draft. She just needs to be in NXT anymore. Maybe like Jackson Riker. Next up, though, is Gable Steveson. Gable Steveson, the Olympian, drafted over to Raw. Now, this is interesting because did you guys see, maybe I'm wrong. I thought watching Raw that when he was drafted, I thought the fan reaction was like, who were they? I thought they were chanting like, who are you? Or who is that? Who is that? I swear the fans were chanting that and they cut it out and they moved on. But Gable Steveson will be an interesting test to see what they do with him. I think they're going to bring him in with a lot of fanfare. Vince and Bruce and everybody wants spectacle. They want big attractions. He's got to be an attraction, right? Gable is going to be an attraction. And I think they'll protect him to all nth degrees. I think you can get him with somebody even like a Kevin Owens on his way out to try and get him over. Depends how they're going to bring him in. You got to assume that they're going to be bringing in Gable as a pure face. What's interesting, and Showstopper, you just said this, mentioning Kurt Angle. I think that there could be the potential for some amazing parallels of Kurt Angle. If this guy's got the amateur background, and if he gets it, if they feel strong enough that they can bring him up on Raw and he can perform a match and it clicks and it gets over, like he can put together a match with people, and he needs really good partners to work with. So that's why I'm like, Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode, Kevin Owens, guys that can work with him and protect him, especially somebody like Dolph Ziggler. He's like the gatekeeper for new talent coming in. I think if you get Gable Steveson in, I think he will get booed right away. I think he'll come in as smiling babyface and try and just be the, oh gosh, golly gee, I'm happy to be here kind of guy. And then I think that he gets ripped by the fans and they're not into it. They don't want some guy coming in just waving and smiling and being happy to be here. That's what always bugged me with like Ronda Rousey. I liked Ronda's intro and everything, like when she first came into it, but I got really tired really, really quickly. And this wasn't them trying to make her a heel. Like she eventually got kind of turned on by the fans later, right before she left. But like with Ronda, I was so over it immediately because every time she came out to the ring, it was her just giant ear-to-ear smile, wave to the fans, and it was big sigh in the ring like, ah, boy, it's just so great. I just love this. Wow. And I got really, really tired of her approach with that. I mean, the bell would ring, she'd get serious, and she'd go. So she changed gears, which was great. I wonder if Gable Steveson will have a similar approach where it's going to be coming in and just waving, smiling. Vince wants him to just be Mr. America guy coming in and then gets booed out of the building by the fans, turn on him. But if they do it like Kurt Angle, and Showstopper was mentioning Kurt Angle earlier, if they treat him like a Kurt Angle in terms of their approach for the character, it could totally work. Because if he comes in and acts like, I don't know why they're booing me, or what's wrong with you? I'm a gold medalist. I'm an Olympian. Like, I'm here to represent you people. And if he has that arrogance of that he thinks he is totally above everybody and the fans are booing him instantly, then the guy could work. It'll be interesting. It's spectacle, right? That's what they want. That's what WWE is going for nowadays. Sami Zayn, SmackDown. I wonder, what do you guys think? I wonder how long Sami's gonna last on WWE first contract. And then we had the post Raw draft and how it kind of came to be. And I saw this morning. And guys, by the way, thank you so much for being here. It's early in the morning, so 10 a.m. over here for Matt. But thank you so much for joining us here live on Assemble. Just as I pause for a second, before we go into the next round of picks, I did just want to be able to touch on the channel real quick and just say thank you guys very, very much for your support. We are going through like a rebrand-ish, but we're really I'm gearing into what everybody is kind of enjoying or coming to hang out on the channel for. So redid kind of like the banner and everything up here. Hang on, let's move Matt out of the way. But yeah, really excited. We are kind of updating and changing things around a little bit. It's Australia, Potsy. Jeez. Well, thank you. But anyways, yeah, guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel, being here even live, hanging out, talking about draft. It's totally fun. I love it. And yeah, just to let you know with the channel itself, if you guys can, if you enjoyed it, if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel, supporting us that way. Become channel members as well, so you can get priority in chat. We can hang out a little bit more, become members over there. And yeah, I think that the channel itself, I just was working on just some rebranding. We've actually officially launched merch, which I was kind of excited for. But yeah, I got a graphic designer I work with, this guy Matt, also Matt, who is absolutely phenomenal. Helped me with the redesign for the little like Funko Pop inspired guy and some updates to the logos. So what you're going to see on the channel going forward, if you've been here before, thank you very much. And you've been here for a while, you know, things are very much focused on WWE content, AEW, and I think that we're just going to keep going in that direction with more live streams like this, some of the recaps, just testing the waters to see what everybody enjoys. But yeah, tons of stuff when it comes to WWE 2K coverage, as well as just our overall wrestling coverage every single week. And when there's the AEW console game, I'll be covering all of that too, as they come in, they do their releases. And if there's any gaming news in general we can focus on, cool. I'll probably still be there, but we also have Assemble XP, which is our Xbox podcast, and Assemble XP is actually on its own channel. So my friend Court and I, we actually do that basically every day, where we do all of the latest Xbox news, which scratches that itch for me, where I still want to be able to talk video games. And then, yeah, just any of our live streams are in there too. So there's that. And then the last piece of the puzzle, guys, I will just say is what I'll say I'm proud to be able to announce is, and show off, is that the official Assemble merch in the merch store. So put these designs together and the logos and everything. And yeah, pretty excited to be able to say that we've got a full merch store. So if anybody is looking for any Assemble merch to be able to rock out with, but I wanted to keep the designs fun and kind of clean and simple. So we have everything from the modern Assemble logos, multiple colors. You guys can pick different t-shirts. You can have it on the front, the back. The zip-up hoodie I actually really like. You've got everything kind of inspired by different eras of wrestling. So from the Attitude Era with the little A Assemble logo, you got like the Essential Tees with the logo on the front and the back. You can do that. I got stickers. We got the 80s inspired mug, and as well as the little Assemble guy. I've actually updated it so you can have like the modern logo. You can have the Attitude Era logo with him, or you can have the 80s inspired logo in there too. So everything from front and back tees, every kind of combination I can do, even tank tops, but even like the mugs, stickers, packs, whatever you guys like, we have it there over on the merch store. So if you can, go and check that out, and I'll just leave it in the link is in the chat if you guys want to head over and just even want to shop and take a look around at some stuff. So next up on the draft, let's look at some of the other additional picks that they have. So we've got Dana Brooke is on Raw. Ziggler and Rude are on Raw, which they came and showed up last night. Jackson Riker's on Raw still. It's great. Veer, they moved over to Raw. On Raw, but they broke him up from Jinder and Shanky. So they're going to try and give Veer a little bit of a push, which is interesting. And then you get into some of the SmackDown stars, and this is where it gets a little bit more interesting that they're after the fact. Liv Morgan, guys, is not even in the draft, like the main draft. She's in like the supplemental draft, just announced online. And they put Liv Morgan, and now she's on Raw. Glad she's on Raw. Maybe it'll help her with her push. But it's Zelina Vega got drafted to Raw as well. And Carmella is on Raw. So they kept the three of them that have been working together this whole time on SmackDown. They just put them over on Raw. So I'm still worried that Liv Morgan is not going to be able to do very much with a breakout there. Mia Yim is heading over to Raw, which is really cool. Hopefully that she will have her character and she's not going to be part of this retribution or just, lingerings of it. Hopefully that can change. Tamina, and they broke up Natalya and Tamina, which I just read, I think on Wrestle Talk, that Tamina and Natalya, they didn't know about the split, that it was going to happen because they were just tagging together. So Tamina is on Raw, Natalya is going over to SmackDown, so they have ended that. I don't know what the women's tag division even is at this point, everybody, but it is what it is. And then they also broke up Tegan Nox and Shotzi, which I was like, they just started a tag team on Raw. Again, they must see something for both of them individually, but to me, this, what do you think? But this tells me that there is no investment and there's no desire to have a women's tag division. They dropped the titles over to Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley. Who are they facing now? There are no women tag teams. Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox were your other team. You had Tamina and Natalya. That was your other team. And I think that was it. Other than maybe a thrown together thing. But Potsy, what's the point of the women's tag titles? This is the thing with the women's divisions overall. If you want to have a floating title, I like the idea of a cross-brand title. I do. If they invest in it. But they don't. It's just there for something the women to slap together a couple of women together as a tag team, like the current champions, and get them to face off against other random opponents. Yeah, Andrew, it's there's literally the one tag team, and it's the champions, and they're just a thrown together tag team. I feel like they're going to dissolve this thing. If we have the women's tag team champions, who are they going to face next week on Raw? Who are their opponents? They have no other women's tag team. Are they going to do Dana Brooke and Carmella thrown together because Vince will just say, put the blondes together? Are you going to have Liv Morgan and somebody else team up together? Are you going to have Mia Yim team up with Dana Brooke? Or Tegan Nox? You had the women's tags. You had some of them, and then you just split them all. Carmella and Zelina Vega. They'll just put they're heels. Okay, they're bad guys, so let's put them as a tag team, and we'll have them go up against the tag champs for a month, and the tag champs will just win. There's no story. Yeah, Potsy, if it were me, I would get rid of this women's tag division. It doesn't work because you're not investing in it. It can work because the women are on both rosters are fantastic. You could put some great teams together, or you had the teams, but it's not a focus. For me, I would just change it and just put in a women's mid-card title. And you can't have that on... I don't think you can necessarily have that on both brands. I don't think that there's enough time to focus on that because I don't think they would focus on an intercontinental title on both Raw and SmackDown for the women. But I think you could have one IC title equivalent, mid-card women's title, singles title, that everybody else could be fighting for. Because the very top, the very, very top of Raw and SmackDown women's division is totally taken up. Becky and Charlotte will be on top, and Bianca will be on top of the women's division, the title scene, for a very long time. And you'll roll up some stars in there, maybe Naomi, and then you'll roll some people back down. The rest of them, like, what are they doing? What are they fighting for? Unless they get the odd ones get into a personal feud that they want to build up. Other than that, they're not fighting for anything. They just go out and have these matches. And it is what it is. So you can't get invested in anybody. So if they have some personal feuds and rivalries, great. But I think if you put a cross-brand title in there, a mid-card women's title, it at least gives them a shot to say, let's have 4 or 5 of them fighting for this mid-card title. And then you put it on somebody like Liv Morgan that fans really love, get her over, win that title, do that for a year, have her fight off a bunch of other people, and then you can build Liv up to getting to the main event of the women's division. It allows for just a little bit more story versus having just these women's tag titles that just float all over the place. All right. Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander are on Raw, so Hurt Business is all sitting together on Raw, which is cool because then they could fight up against Big E, which, again, I'd like that. Miz is staying on Raw. Fine. Bye-bye, Miz. But John Morrison's also on Raw. SmackDown is getting Jinder Mahal and Shanky. So Jinder is probably going to be, I mean, he's lower card right now, the way they've done it. They might put them in as tag, and if there's only 2 of them now, and Veer is off on Raw on his own, maybe Jinder and Shanky are actually going to become a tag team, and they're going to really build up the tag division. We could see that, or they're going to fight off against some of the newer stars on Raw, because Jinder could be a good hand for that, right? And you could get some newer SmackDown talent in there. Ridge Holland, for example, could go up against Jinder and beat him. And that gets Ridge Holland over. Or you can have like Ricochet fighting Jinder to start off to build up Ricochet. Like you can do a lot to get, and Jinder can keep his heat. So then you got SmackDown's Jinder and Shanky, Natalya, Shotzi. Fine. You got no SmackDown tag division, or you got no women's tag division. And then Friday Night SmackDown, we've already talked about, and we've seen this obviously play out. Just some of the highlights for me is like, okay, you got Bearcat Lee on Raw, cool. Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss is on SmackDown. That's what I was thinking, actually. That was the one that stuck out of my brain. I fear that Ridge Holland will be hooked up with Happy Corbin. That's what I think. I don't want that, but I think that might happen. And then, yeah, like Edge is on Raw. McIntyre on SmackDown is great. He can eventually get rolled up again to fight Roman, probably for 2-3 months. I think that would be a strong feud. Heat up. I think it's a good fresh start for McIntyre. He did literally everything on Raw. He was, Thunderdome era champion, and I was getting tired. I was getting burnt out of McIntyre. He's fantastic, but it was him and the champ, him against Lashley, him as the champ. It was just, I was done with it, and I needed him to do something else, and he hasn't done much since being the champion. So he's kind of done everything on Raw. I like that he's on SmackDown. Fresh faces. Maybe you get into the IC title picture, or just shoot right up and work on the main event. The other one I actually missed was when we had Austin Theory actually show up on Raw and take out Jeff Hardy, which was funny because that's a send-off for Jeff Hardy to SmackDown. And maybe Jeff actually gets a character change. Maybe he goes heel. That's a lot of the rumor right now. I'd love to see that. And I'd love to see what they can do with Austin Theory. I think his gimmick could work. Depends on the direction they go with it. I think that they could use Austin Theory because he's hilarious and he's amazing in the ring. So if they can kind of combine it, if they don't make him too much of a joke, if they can find this little balance, maybe he's going to use this selfie gimmick to try and just heat him up a little bit, where they're coming out, because the fans don't really know him. The average fans don't really know who Austin Theory is. So they give him this little gimmick of like, let me take a picture with you. And he's like, you're one of the legends I love. And maybe he starts building himself up that way by fighting, because he's very young, and they'll present him as very, very young. So if Austin Theory can get in the ring with guys like Kevin Owens, like he just took out Jeff Hardy, he can take out Ray. If he has those matches and those feuds, and he uses this little gimmick to get his way in, I could really like it, where he's going to try and, take out Rey Mysterio and say that Rey Mysterio is somebody he looked up to and he loved Rey Mysterio. You could put Austin Theory versus Rey in a 3-month feud, and it could be really, really good. But I don't want them to over gimmick Austin Theory. I think you need to let him shine. I got a lot of messages popping up. It's middle of the morning, but it's all good. And obviously the biggest one is going to be, Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. Acknowledge him, everybody. Acknowledge Roman Reigns. He could be a legend killer, Austin Theory. We don't know. But what did you think of the 2021 draft? I thought they had some interesting moments. Nothing crazy surprising right now. I didn't see the NXT call-ups that I wanted to see. I wanted to see Ciampa, Gargano move up. I wanted to see Gargano on SmackDown and The Way. But maybe this will do stuff because they will still make moves. The layout of the draft and the timing of things is kind of clunky because they're doing the season premiere of SmackDown. They have Crown Jewel, and even as the season premiere of SmackDown happens, they don't have the new rosters launching, which is very bizarre. I don't know why you wouldn't have the brand new rosters ready to go on your season premiere. It's a restart. It makes no sense to me. But anyways, from now until after the premiere, it gives them still the time if they want to mess around with the rosters, the supplemental stars. They're big pieces I don't think they would move at all. I think they have that locked in and they know exactly what they want. I think the ones that are lower on the card that haven't been on TV yet during this draft, I think those are the ones that maybe will get shuffled around, and maybe we could see some NXT stars, but they probably still want NXT 2.0 to have the existing stars from 1.0 to help build up these new guys like Braun Breaker. Potsy says, I wouldn't mind Austin Theory getting paired up again with Seth Rollins. See, that could be a lot of fun. And because Seth is in this really, really amazing spot where he's jokey, but he can be serious. He's all over the place. Austin Theory can be fun, but I think Austin needs to go on his own, do his own thing, build himself up a little bit before he gets built up that way. But I'm excited to see how it all shakes up. It makes things a little bit interesting. WWE gets a little bit clunky at this time of year because you end up getting, hey, Dreaded Shredder, how's it going? You get a little bit clunky right now where you get Crown Jewel, the premiere, and then you're getting the Survivor Series, which is usually heavily gimmicked of brand versus brand, but the new brands haven't been together at all, so it's kind of whatever. And then we look into the fall, really, of, getting into almost the end of the year, in January into Royal Rumble. Whatever else they got coming up. But I like to see what they could do. New feuds, that's always fun. It takes them a couple of months to shake things out and level things off. I think they're just going to be mostly focused on the big stories that they can run at the top of the card. Becky, Charlotte, Bianca, Roman Reigns, the Bloodline. Hurt Business is great. I like to see what else they can do with Lashley. I think that once he's done with this Goldberg thing, Crown Royal, that they could actually get rid of Goldberg, bye-bye, for a little bit, and get Lashley refocused, because I think this is a distraction. I don't like it. And then I like to see Lashley refocus and go back after the title and just start having just giant killer matches with Big E. So I think those two would be really, really cool together. But let me know what you guys think. We're going to wrap things up now. Quick little summary, little review of the draft, 2021 draft. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below, in the chat right now. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on Assemble Live, going through the draft results and the latest ones. If you guys can, do me a favor. Yeah, Crown Royal, Andrew. It's Crown Jewel. I like a Crown Royal. But if you can, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, get updates on all the content that we do here. I'll have new episodes coming out this week on the channel, covering all things WWE 2K, and if there's any WWE news that's going to be kind of shocking or surprising us, we'll have it covered here on the channel. And go check out the merch store. I put the link in the description or in the chat here. So go check out Matt's new merch store, and it's all redesigned. We got all things WWE and AEW focus here on the channel. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. And as always,